Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, one of the more exciting things that I do every January, which is my stats extravaganza. I have a lot to cover. I have um, slides for you all. Welcome. Hey Bronwyn. So we're going to go over all of my reading stats for the year. We're going to talk about what I spent on books, like my finances, what my goals were and what I ended up making, goals for the year. We're going to cover a lot of ground and it'll be fun. We can be nerdy together. Hello, welcome. All right. So 2023 stats extravaganza. This is always fun. I've got some tea also. Um, thank you. I feel good. Hello, welcome. Being nerdy together. Yes, yes, I love it. Thanks. Yeah, I love these. They're like little overalls, and I don't know. I like it. It's fun. All right. So here's what you can expect: reading stats, spending stats, income and goals. This is the order we're going to go in. So we're going to start with stats on how things went with reading this year. This year I read more than I've read before. I read 448 books. I'm going to say I think there's a couple of reasons for this. One is I kind of got into manga this year, and I can read a of manga in like 30 minutes. So I read quite a bit, and I think that that's part of what's bumping up my numbers. I think the other piece of this is the amazing readathon in August, which we'll talk about, which I read more that month than I ever have before. It was wild. Like, so you'll see it's a big outlier. I don't know that I could do it again because it was just very intense, but I did read a lot this year. Average length of books that I was reading was 310 pages, and total pages read was 139,182 for an average page count of 381 pages per day. So again, I think August is bumping those numbers up a little bit because I read so much that month. Normally my averages are more like 350 or so, so this is a little high, and I think that's why. To the tone of Shaw stats. I'm glad everyone's excited. Okay, so you're going to see what I'm talking about in terms of an outlier. This is my books per month. January, I read 39. February was 44. I feel like winter is always high. And then spring is less because it gets busy. So March was 41, April 32, May 31, June 34, July 40. August was 62. This was the month of the amazing readathon. It took over my life. So I guess this is how much I can read if that's like most of what I'm doing, but I don't think I don't think I can do it again. Props to Brianna for all of the wildness that she ran that month. Go Team Yellow. I read 22 in September, so we had a much lower month. That was my lowest month of the year. I think the only month where I was under 30 was September, probably because I was coming down from August, which was so intense. And then 43 in October, 30 November, and 30 in December. So there's definitely some rhythms to when I'm reading more and when I'm reading less. I just think it's interesting. Hello, procrastinating on work. Well, what better way to do that than see some reading stats? All right. Here are my favorite books by month. I thought this was kind of fun to track because you saw my overall favorites, but like these were the favorites by month. So January, Delicious Monsters. February was Sea of Tranquility. I've talked about these books before, so I'm not going to go into detail. March was Sister Song by Lucy Holland. I love. April was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. That was a fun one. May was Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. June was Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Favorite book of the year, also, I will say. July was Role Playing, favorite romance of the year. August was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. September was Wild Seed by Octavia Butler. October was Outlaw Mage by K.S. Fioso. November, How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, my one nonfiction on here, and then December was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. So, yeah, like a pretty solid array of books every month, I feel like. Yes, Camp Damascus is so good, so good. I push it on a lot of people. Okay, so here's what I read in terms of genre. There's no big surprises here. We all know kind of my favorite genres, and this is about what I would expect. My most read genre was fantasy at about 30%, and then romance makes up almost 28%. So, like slightly less than fantasy, but pretty similar. And that's kind of broken up. It looks like 12.7% was contemporary romance, 7 almost 8% was speculative romance, and then I don't know where's my historical romance. Historical romance was like 5.6%. So quite a bit of contemporary romance in there, but a mix. Hi, hello, hello. 15% of my reading was science fiction. 11.2% was horror. The last couple of years, horror has been jumping up there, getting close to sci-fi. And then other genres made up about 15% of my reading. So I am heavily reading in my preferred genres, but I do throw in some other things as well. And I'm not mad about that. I think that's part of why I read as much as I do, is because I am mostly trying to read things I enjoy. Age groups, again, this is kind of par for the course at this point. I'm reading primarily books for adult audiences. So about 73.5% of the books that I read were targeted at adult audiences. 18.5% were for YA, 7% were middle grade, and then a little bit of children's. This is like picture books and stuff like that. I am reading more middle grade this year. I think, though, this has to do with the fact that my kids are getting older, and so I'm now reading middle grade books to them in the evenings, and so I think that's part of why that percentage has been growing this year, and I'm not mad about it. I've really been enjoying it. Ah, yes, finish your statistics. The month is almost over. It's easy to get distracted. I feel like I tend to put these off sometimes too. Yes, I saw this. Camp Damascus is nominated for a Stoker Award in the YA section. I think it's interesting that it's in the YA section because it's not a YA novel, but I guess the protagonist is youngish, so I suppose I could see why they might have put it there. But props to Camp Damascus. I love that it's getting noticed. It's fantastic. All right. In terms of format, we're doing a lot of audiobooks. And this tracks with what has it's looked like most months. 65% of my reading this year was through audio. And then I think I have like uncorrected proofers. I don't know. It's kind of like a blend. Ebook is tiny. Only three, well, okay, it's a little bigger than this. So 3.3% is ebooks that I purchased, and then that uncorrected proof chunk of 12% is a blend of ebooks and physical books, because some of those are from NetGalley. I need to find a better way to do this, but the main point is some ebooks, more physical books, a lot of audio books. And I don't anticipate that really changing much. Publisher. Okay, so this is interesting. My most read publisher, and probably not a shocker, is Macmillan with 20.8%. Tor and Tor.com are published under Macmillan, so they are, one of my favorites. But then almost 18% is from Penguin Random House. And I think that's probably because I've been reading more books from Penguin Teen. I've been on their list, so I've been reading from them. So a lot of this is from the big five. HarperCollins is 11.5%, Hachette is 8%, but 17% of these are indie and small press, which I'm pretty happy about. And there's also some smaller presses that are making up a few other of these little slices of the pie. So I'm really happy to see that I'm continuing to read a pretty significant amount of books from smaller presses and self-published authors, in addition to reading a lot from some of the bigger publishers. So I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, if anybody hasn't heard about this, the stuff with the Hugo Awards, I don't know. They can't, I think, can't really talk about it publicly, but I know there were a few people who were disqualified, and they're not explaining Why? So that includes Babel by R.F. Kuang, Sharon J. Zhao, um, Neil Gaiman's Stardust, which is interesting, and then I think also like a smaller writer. I suspect it's probably because the Hugos are rotate where they're hosted, and they were hosted in China this year, and so there's a lot of suspicion that it had to do with state censorship, which I mean seems likely. Um, but yeah, it is very interesting. I'm interested. I'm watching to see what comes of that. Oh, I love this. Spirit Bares Its Teeth won the Stonewall Award for Better. Oh, that's so great. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Spirit Bares Its Teeth is amazing. I love that. Sandman Show was disqualified from. Yes, the Sandman Show was for with Neil Gaiman. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So it's interesting. It's creating a lot of discourse, understandably. All right. In terms of where books are coming from, what is the biggest? Okay, Neck Alley is the biggest piece of this pie. So almost 22% of the books that I read in 2023 were coming from Neck Alley. And then Audible is the next biggest at 19.5%. I know some of those are things purchased, some of those are things that come free with the subscription. So yeah, those two together are pretty big. But Libra FM is catching up. 14.5% of the books that I read were from Libra FM because I've been trying to buy more from them, and because I like that they support indie bookstores, I do their subscription. So definitely more. And also there's some influencer review copies. 7% from publishers, 5% from my library. I feel like I could see that number go up. Um, and Scribd is 10%. So I think it's interesting where the stuff is where the stuff is coming from. I know I am reading other things as well, but a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of audiobooks in here, a lot of Neck Alley books. Okay, I think it's interesting to look at translated fiction. I actually read quite a bit of translated work this year. 7% of the books that I read in total were translated. I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one is you can see the biggest n- chunk of the translated books is from Japanese, about 60%. So that's all that manga that I was reading primarily. And then 25% of this is Polish, and that's because I did a a read along of the Witcher series. And that's all translated from Polish. So I think that those two things definitely contributed to me reading more translated works. I would like to read more though, and I have read a little bit from French, Greek, Spanish, and Arabic, but not as much. I love this for you that you're using the library so much. I think that's awesome. Okay, I'm reading a lot for review. I think this year I was like, "Oh, let me try to get it down to like 30%." No, that did not happen. It's a little less than it used to be, but still like almost 46% of the books that I read were for review. But this is better than it's been in the past. I feel like at one point it was more than half of the books that I was reading was for review, and I wanted to make more space to read from my shelves and, read for other projects. And I have been doing that. I could continue to work on this. I mean, it's always going to take up a substantial amount of my reading, but yeah, I read if you wondered, a lot of stuff I read for review. Looking at publication year, this is maybe the earliest we've had since I've been on this platform, but the earliest published work that I read in 2023 was from the year 441, and that was Antigone. So, yeah, very early. And in fact, I broke it up a little differently this time. I read a total of 4 books that were published prior to 1900, 25 books that were published between the year 1900 and 2000. So that's like 6% of my reading. And then the biggest chunk here is books published between 2000 and 2022. That makes up about 46% of the books that I read. Then another 45% is 2023 releases. So I am reading a lot of front list, but also reading some classics and backlist. And then I read 8 2024 releases a little bit early. So this is about what I expect, and I'm not upset about it. I do try to make space for reading older books, backlist, classics, but I do read pretty heavily new releases as well because I'm reading so much for review. Star ratings. Man, I don't give many books 1 and 1.5 stars, but some of them get it. I got this year 4 books got 1 star, which man, I hate. Like, I hated it. 1 star. 5 books got 1.5, which is not much better. 9 books got 2 stars. 19 got 2.5 stars. 53 got 3 stars. 36 got 3.5 stars. My most given rating was 4 stars at 124. And then 84 got 4.5 stars, 86 got 5 stars, and 25 got 6 stars. So this is favorites of the year. That's 25, which let me do that math. So about 6% of the books that I read, I gave 6 stars to. Which seems reasonable to me. So yeah, average is 4 stars, which is pretty good, a little bit up from last year, I would say. Yes, I think it's a good average, 4 and 3 star heavy. To be fair, I also DNF a lot of books that I'm not enjoying, things that are lower rated, not everything, but that's also part of why I think this happens. I will have a video coming on my DNFs. It's filmed, just not edited yet. Only given a single book 1 star from 4 years of reading. Wow. DNFing does help. All right. Next is author demographics. So, who are the authors of all these books that I was reading? I continue to read pretty heavily American authors, and I think this is hard to get away from. This is country of origin, so I look at countries people were born in. About 70% of the books that I read in 2023 are by authors born in the United States. I do try to read things from other countries, and you can see they make up a decent amount. But then the next largest chunk here is the UK at 7%, and then Canada at 5.6%. So I think getting outside of those three can be difficult. But I mean, we're doing okay. What is that? I don't know what that adds up to. Um, you know, 20 like about 20% of my reading is outside of those 3 places. I would like it to be a little bit higher. I'm not too mad at it, but yeah, it's difficult with where a lot of published work comes from, but I do actively try to include authors from other places. Okay. Author race and ethnicity, y'all know I do try to prioritize reading from Black, Indigenous, and person of color authors to as much as I can. And then it looks like overall this year I did hit my benchmarks. I'm aiming for about 50%. So 49.3% was white authors, and then slightly over 50% was from authors of color, which is pretty good. The biggest part of this is Black authors at 20.5%, East Asian authors at 11.6%. My Indigenous numbers are a little lower than I'd like them to be at 2.5%. I'd like that to be higher than it is. And yeah, and I'm never great with. I feel like I should probably also read more Middle Eastern authors. 2.2%. I'd like to see that number be higher as well moving into the new year. Read an extreme amount of American authors, even though you're not American. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where a lot of, a lot of people getting published tend to be American. And at least we're seeing a little bit of that shift, but that can be hard. All right. Okay. This year, I decided to look at, is there significant religious representation in the books that I'm reading? And so I thought this would be interesting. And most of the books that I'm reading, there is not. So about 84% of the books is not applicable. But we do have some various things. So the biggest one here is 5.6% Christianity. And then 2% Judaism, 2.7% indigenous, some kind of indigenous belief systems, and some others as well. So I think this is interesting to look at. Oh, I didn't combine those. I tried to fix where I accidentally wrote in the wrong thing. So this one I have Islam and Muslim as separate, which that's just like user error in the spreadsheet. So those should be combined to be like 1.6%. So yeah, I just think that's interesting to look at. Like, is there some kind of religious representation that I'm getting significantly from it? I love this. Yeah, there's a lot of really great indigenous horror out there for sure. And then looking at how many of these authors are openly LGBTQ plus. This is not to say that there are not others who are, but this is ones who are publicly members of the queer community. And 34.2% of the books that I read were by openly queer authors, which is great. I'm aiming for at least 25%, and it was definitely higher than that this year. And I read a lot from openly trans authors this year. 9.2% of the books that I read were by openly trans or non-binary authors, and I think that that's great. I feel like we're seeing more publishing coming from them, and I think those are important stories to read, so that is something I try to include. Looking at gender, looking at gender, I read a lot from female authors, so almost 70% of my reading is from female authors, 22% from male authors, and almost 7% from non-binary or agender authors. And then we have a little bit of both. So this is like a mix of authors from a variety of genders. Again, I'm seeing that non-binary number has, I feel like, really gone up, which has been interesting. Thank you. I try to be careful with how I word it. I haven't always done this perfectly in the past, and so I've tried to be thoughtful about the way that I do this. And yes, this is absolutely true. Yes, someone can be queer even if they're closeted. And there are people who are not openly queer who write queer stories. They may be straight, they may not be, but it's harmful to make those assumptions. So, yeah, we don't. All right. Disability. This is authors who are, in some way I'm able to know, experience disability. And almost 11% of the books that I read this year are by disabled authors. This is also another important piece. Some of these things I track throughout the year and I talk about them at the end of the year, even if I don't mention them in my monthly wrap ups. So this is an example of that, because I think this is also a different kind of diversity that's important to read from. And then neurodiversity, 16.5% of the books that I read were from authors who are neurodiverse in some way. And this, I'm using this as an umbrella term. So this can include, things like ADHD or autism, but this can also include like mental mental illness type things, kind of a variety. I know it's controversial whether you use this as an umbrella term, but that's how I'm using it, but for authors who talk about having those experiences. And I'm continuing to read a lot of authors that are new to me. I try to pick up books from authors I haven't read from before, debut authors, and see if I might find someone new. So 45.8% of the books that I read this year were from authors who were new to me, which is high. I feel like higher than I might have expected. I try to be good about doing this, as well as reading those tried and true authors that I know and love. Okay, so those are all of the book stats. We're going to move on to talking about goals, spending, finances. So this should be interesting. Um, Kind of prissy about disability in books. The main ones you see are autism, anxiety, and depression, though I hate the lack of more stigmatized disabilities. That's interesting. Yeah, so like all three of the things that you mentioned here, I don't, when I'm categorizing it, those go under my neurodiversity category. So when I'm saying disabled, um, generally I mean either some kind of a physical disability or chronic pain. Those are the things that I'm categorizing there. But there are a variety of ways to do it. But I think there is actually, like there are authors who write about some of their experiences. Okay. All right. So spending on books in 2023. In 2023, 442 books came in. not all of them have stayed, but 442 books came in. I of those, I purchased 251 of them. So this includes ebooks, audiobooks, and physical books, and we're going to get into the breakdown of those. Um, so this is, I did not get a percentage. Oh shoot, what did I do? Whoops. Okay, hold on. I did not do the percentage on this. I meant to. Sorry. Okay, so I purchased about 57% of the books that came in. And a lot of the books are things that were sent to me for review or things that were gifted. So we'll get into all of the nitty-gritty of that. And for review was 119 books. Again, I did not do the percentages. So that is 27%. So 27% of these were for review. And then I had 70 books that were gifted this year, which is quite a lot actually. Um, so in 2022, my average spending on books, ebooks, audiobooks, and physical books was $236.13 per month. My goal was to spend between $150 and $200 a month in 2023. This was the first year I really like tracked it and had a goal, and I did that sort of. So my average was $178.77. However, this average is not including three outliers. So we'll get into those. I did have three collectible books I purchased that were very expensive. One of them I don't even have yet, but I did pay for it. Um, and so if I put those numbers in there, it skews it a little bit. So I took those three out. But in general, I think I did a pretty good job of decreasing my spending on books this year. Would love to read more chronic pain and fatigue rep. Yeah. Of course, off the top of my head, the only thing I can think of is Fourth Wing, but I know there are other books I've read that have some of that. I need to think about it. Maybe I can come up with like a video of recommendations because I know I've read quite a few. Okay. Book spending. Okay, so the amount that I spent on the three outliers, these are like collectible books, was $560 um in total. Oh, yes. Oh, this is great. Yeah, Chloe Brown is good for paid. Oh, personality disorder. You know, what did I just read? Um I've read a couple of these with personality disorder rep. The one that I recently read, oh gosh, what was that called? Hold on, sorry. Um, H.E. Edgemon wrote a book that kind of has that sort of godly heathens, and it's also like queer and indigenous and trans. So I that might be interesting. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm getting distracted here. But so I spent $560 on three collectible books. One of them I'm still waiting on. I bought it early in the year, but it's like a small company, so I'm like, "Come on, when are we getting it?" It was like the most expensive book I've ever bought in my life, but it's for like a super fancy edition of the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin, and I just like couldn't resist. And then I had two Subterranean Press books that I bought. One Sylvia Moreno Garcia book, with the daughter of Dr. Moreau, and then a novella by Joe Abercrombie. So those three are kind of my outliers, but I'm not really including them because they're not like regular books that I would buy. I bought them as collector's items. So I'm kind of separating those out. Okay. Oh, Alyssa Cole has one coming out this year called One of Us Knows. Oh, cool. Oh, with personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so here's what I spent across different categories. Audiobooks, I spent $621.70, which is a lot, but this does include all of my audio subscriptions and everything. And on average, that works out to $6.76 per audiobook. And I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. That is you saw it was like 65% of my reading. So I'm not too upset with this. This year I didn't buy a lot of ebooks. I don't like reading them that much. And so I don't buy very many of them. This year I spent $9.91 on ebooks for an average cost of 71 cents each. So, um, some of the ones that I did end up getting were free or like I had credits to use towards them. So I didn't do a lot of ebook purchasing. Physical books, I spent $1,513.06 for an average of $10.51 per book. And I think part of this is I've been making an effort to buy more from indie bookstores or at least not buy from Amazon as much as possible. And so the cost has gone up a little bit, but I've also bought less books. So I'm not too mad about this. I think given the fact that this is what I do as my job, I feel like this is kind of a reasonable cost for me. This may not be for everybody, but for me, this is about what I was aiming for. I wanted to spend between 150 and $200 and I ended up right in the middle of that per month. So, I'm not upset about it. And I should say, which you'll see in the income category, I do recoup some of these costs because books that I don't want to keep on my shelves, I will resell on Pango Books. I haven't tracked that difference specifically, although maybe I will this year. Might be interesting to see. All right. Did I read them though? So this is a good question. So 442 books came in this year. How many of those did I read? I actually read quite a lot of them. 248 of them I read, which is 56%, and I DNF'd 20, which is 5%. So I have 174 of those books left on my TBR, which is 39%. I feel like that's pretty good. The fact that the net that I brought in this year was 174 books when the total that I read this year was, 448 books. I'm pretty pleased with those numbers. I want to continue to try to be on top of reading more of the books as they're coming in, and g- moving things along that I'm not really that interested in anymore. And I am going to be trying to continue to read down my physical TBR this year a little bit. All right. Financial update. So I did a whole big thing where I was pretty transparent last year about my finances and why it had been a struggle doing this full time, and that I was kind of trying this year to see if I could make this workable to continue to do full time. So in 2022, my average income was $840 a month. This is just my income from like doing YouTube and related things, which was $10,000 for the year, which was much lower than what I'm looking for. My goal for this year, which I knew was a little bit ambitious, was to increase that to an average of 1667 a month or 20,000 for the year. I did not hit that goal. However, this year was a lot better, and we're going to talk about the details of that. So my average income this year was $1,300 a month for a total of $15,600 for the year, which is a pretty significant jump from last year. So I'm happy with that. However, I'm also going to be doing some other things because I live in one of the most expensive cities in the world. And while I do have a high earning spouse, which allows me to have a more creative job, we also are like trying to save for kids' college and pay off my student loans. And these numbers just need to get higher. So, yeah. Do you want to say do not get into reviews of one of us knows? Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. One of my goals this year was I wanted to be more on top of trying to have a reasonable amount of sponsorships because I didn't have very many in 2022. So my goal was to have at least one per quarter, and I did. I had four sponsorships in 2023, which hit my goal. So I would like to do that again this year, or maybe a little bit more. Um, But yeah. Oh no. The ableism in One of Us Knows is painful. Oh, that's really unfortunate. Darn. I was excited about that book. Okay. We'll have to look into that. Okay, so how have things changed? So last year I looked at, and this is very conservative estimate, but I decided to do the math of like, okay, based on income, let's say I was working a 40-hour work week, which I'm not, like I'm probably a lot of times doing more than that with all the things that I do, but let's just say that that would be a wage of about $4.81 an hour, which is like abysmally low. This year, we're up to 7.50 an hour, which is better. So a lot of this honestly is thanks to Patreon. Patreon has grown a lot this year, and that has been a huge part of what has made me continuing to do this as much as I am full time possible. And so I am hugely thankful to all of the people who've supported me on Patreon because as you'll see, we're going to get into like percentages of where the income is coming from. And I think this is also helpful for people who like I think there's not always a lot of transparency around income for content creators. And I do know that there are people with much larger platforms who are making a lot more money, and especially people who get videos that are, like going viral. Yes, they're probably making a lot more. But to give you an idea of what is more realistic, like I think it's helpful maybe to be a little transparent about the amount of work that goes into this and what the income actually is. So this year, where was my income coming from? These are the big places. The biggest piece of it actually is Patreon. 48% of my income is from Patreon. So almost half of it. It's that is like the biggest thing that makes it possible for me to do this. Read as much as I do and review and make content full time has been because of that. AdSense is the next biggest chunk, but this is only 28%. This is the revenue that I get from YouTube ads playing on my videos. And ad revenue has been down. A lot of there's I've even seen some articles about it. There are people who are pulling some of their ads from YouTube. I think with the rise of TikTok, a lot of stuff is going over there. And so that does make it challenging for creators because even people who normally were making more, it's kind of down for everybody. And so it's just not and it's very inconsistent. So it'll be a little bit up around the holidays because companies are doing more ad buys around the holidays and then it's back down. So very inconsistent income throughout the year and not as much as you might think. Sponsorships made up about 7% of my income this year, so not huge. Affiliate incomes, this is like Amazon affiliate, Libra FM affiliates was 2%, so not very much, but it adds up. Selling on Pango books was actually 6%, so that that actually has been pretty good. So I'll continue to do that. And then I've done a few manuscript critiques and beta reads this year, and that made up about 3% of my income. Doesn't matter if we watch ads all the way through or not. Um, I it's a little unclear. I do think if you watch them through, it bumps it a bit, but I don't know how much in the scheme of things. Yeah, I don't know. Think it's good to be transparent about this because people might not join creator Patreons because they think the creator already makes a ton of money. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, there are people who are making a lot more from AdSense, but usually those are people who have videos that are going viral where they're getting like tens of thousands of views. Yeah, of course they're making a good income from just Google AdSense, but most of us especially on BookTube, it's just not very much, to be honest. Um, okay. All right. So, what are some of my major annual expenses for what I do? So these are some of the kind of ongoing expenses. I pay for things like StreamYard, Canva, Kofi Gold so that I can sell through things through Kofi. I have a PO box that I pay for yearly, website hosting, and then Patreon benefits is a big thing because I do a lot of stuff for patrons. I do like holiday mailings and birthday cards and stuff like that. And so between shipping costs and production costs and everything, about $1,300 is what I'm saving towards paying for Patreon benefits throughout the year. My audio book subscriptions cost me around $400 a year. And then I'm also saving up to upgrade things like equipment. So that might be my camera, or if I at some point need a new computer or a new cell phone, because I film quite a bit of things on my phone. So things like that, equipment that I use for the job that eventually at some point has to be updated. So those are some of the major expenses. It could be a lot higher. It's relatively low overhead because I work from home doing this. But those are, you know, all of that is, I don't know, what is that? A couple $1,000s, I guess, a little more than that. Knowing people I like will make more because I don't skip the ads will make, oh, that's nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So what's new this year? YouTube Premium. Oh, okay. So if you have YouTube Premium that doesn't have ads, we do get paid a little bit. So there we actually see they break it out of like how much you get from people with YouTube Premium. It's not a lot, but you do still get paid. So a percentage of whatever you're paying to YouTube goes to the creators you're watching. Okay, so what's new this year? New things I'm doing, because like obviously like things definitely improved. I'm really grateful, especially for all of the support through Patreon and everything. That has been a huge help. But again, I'm continuing to try to branch out and see what are like different streams of income or different things I can try to make it fun and creative for one thing, but also the income piece. So a couple of things. One is I've been doing Choose Your Story 2024, which is fun. If anybody in the comments has been joining it, I'm and we're actually gonna do, I thought that one of my patrons gave me this idea and I was like, this is a great idea. So we're gonna do it here. So after I'm done talking on these slides, I'm gonna do a walkthrough of the January Choose Your Story and let you guys vote on what we do so you can kind of get a sense of how this works. I thought this would be fun as a multimedia storytelling thing. It's hosted mostly on Ko-fi and a little bit for higher tier patrons on Patreon. But every month you get a PDF that has a story fragment and then a series of choices. And depending on what choice you make, you click a hyperlink that takes you to a video. And at the end of the video is a reading challenge for the month. And there's a Discord server where people are like talking about stuff, and there's clues in February, which is really fun. So you try to figure out, like, can you figure out what the clue that you got means? And it's been fun. So I've got it planned out. I actually have most of my videos filmed through May right now. So I've been having a blast making this. And I'm trying to be better about like making more people aware of it. So if you're interested, it's available through Ko-fi. But again, once I'm done with this, I'm going to do a run through of January so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I know I've announced this a few places, but I unfortunately had to cancel the UK trip I was hoping to host because there weren't enough signups. And I think part of the problem is the cost was just really high, especially between airfare, and Europe is really expensive right now. And so instead, I'm hosting a couple of trips to New York City and just doing it myself. I'm not working with a company, I'm organizing it myself. And it's been a lot of work, but really fun. So the first one is happening in May, and that one is definitely going. I've got 7 people signed up for that trip, and I've got, like I put down a contract with the hotel and like booking restaurants and all this stuff. And it's going to be fun. It's like a long weekend, Friday through Monday, with a whole itinerary. And then I'm planning another one in September that's going to be also bookish, but a little more focused on history. So yeah, that has been really cool. It's a little bit of a trial run, but it's got me wondering if a side thing I could maybe look into is getting officially licensed as a tour guide in New York and seeing if I can put together kind of bookish tour itineraries for people. I think that would be fun. And I'm looking for ways to, have other streams of income. So we'll see. That's like a maybe possible thing I may do. And then writing. I'm doing a little bit of this with the choose your story stuff where I'm writing kind of story fragments and it's just kind of like fun and silly. But I also did NaNoWriMo last year and started working on a novel. I would like to complete that manuscript this year and see if I can do something with it. So those are all sort of new ways I'm branching out. The podcast had its last episode, so that's kind of off my plate, which is giving a little more space for me to do some other things. And it's been fun to kind of try new stuff, especially because I've been on YouTube now for almost 7 years, which is a long time. And so finding ways to keep it interesting has been has been cool. Sounds like a dream idea for you. I love it. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's available either monthly or yearly, and the yearly is discounted. So I think okay, so that's that. We're gonna do a choose your story January walkthrough. And you'll kind of get an idea of like what I'm talking about. And then I'll do a poll and let you guys decide which choice we're gonna make. Okay, so here we go. The adventure begins January 2024. This is very dramatic. So we'll do a dramatic reading. Your alarm goes off and you blearily reach out to turn it off, wishing for just a few more minutes of rest before you have to get up and start your day. Sighing, you crack open your eyes and fumble in the semi-darkness for your phone. As you mentally prepare for another day of dull work in a bland office where nothing exciting or interesting ever happens, you check your notifications. A friend sent you a cute cat video. Your boss emailed you at midnight and will probably be pissed that you are not available to respond right away. You roll your eyes and are about to swipe to a different app when suddenly a new email appears at the top of your inbox. From a friend, your destiny awaits. What will you choose? Well, that seems strange. You think it's probably spam, but out of curiosity, you decide to open the email anyway. Your destiny? Really? You laugh to yourself, but then you think of the long, dreary day ahead of you at work and how colorless your life has become lately. Maybe your real destiny wouldn't be such a bad thing, you think, clicking to open the email. Hello, friend. You don't know me, but I've been watching you, waiting for you to be ready to seek the destiny you were truly born for. You have the chance to get out of the rut you are in and choose your own story, be it magical or thrilling. Destiny is waiting for you. You only have to be brave enough to reach out and take it. Come to New York City and find out what you've been missing all along. Once you arrive, follow the clues and find a path to your destiny, learning along the way. There are many possibilities, but only you can decide where you are being drawn. So drop everything and come to New York. Your destiny awaits. What will you choose? Hopefully, a friend. You drop your phone to the bed in shock, letting the words wash over you. Drop everything and travel to New York City? Based on an email that is probably a scam? You couldn't possibly. And yet, something inside you yearns for exactly this sort of adventure, for a quest that might bring some joy and challenge back into your life. Yawning, you close your eyes and think, you must make a decision. Do you? Okay, so here's where we're gonna make a poll. I think there's a way to do this. Hold on. Start a poll. Okay, so here are your options. Give me a second. Okay. We doing this? Okay. Start a poll. Okay. What do you do? Do you ignore the email and go back to sleep? Do you drop everything and fly to New York City? Or do you pack and take a leisurely train? Okay, starting the poll. So, vote. What are you going to do? Ignore it, go back to sleep, drop everything and fly there, pack and take a leisurely train. All right, I'm going to give it a couple minutes and then we'll see what the answer is. And then we'll click to see the video. Actually need to get that pulled up while that is running. Give me a second. So this has been fun. It's like kind of silly, but it's been fun. And then there's a reading challenge depending on what you pick at the end. Where is my yeah. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're going train. Um, okay, so I'm gonna end the poll. So the winner was train. I love that go ignore the email and go back to sleep was also such a popular one. All right, so hold on a second. Let me get this pulled up. Sorry, it's a little complicated to do this live. Okay. I should have had this all like set up before. Okay. So take a leisurely train. Um, all right. Let me just share my screen. Guess we're not highly spontaneous people. I guess not, Bronwyn. Apparently not. Oh man. All right, here we go. Okay, so here we go. Okay, and your reading challenge for the month would be you have nothing but time. Read a book over 500 pages. Okay. So, anyway, that's how Choose Your Story works. The first month is a little less exciting than other months. The second month, you actually get like clues you can try to figure out. And if you're in the Discord server and you figure out your clue before March, you get like a special designation. So, if anybody wants to hop on, they're welcome to. It's really been fun. And about halfway through the year, it is going to branch off into a plot that is more kind of fantastical and one plot that's more mystery thriller-y. And I do also have, oh, I guess I could show you this. Um, I also made, well, no, because of the music. Okay, you can look, there's a and maybe I'll put the link down below. There's a trailer that I made for it too of just kind of the vibes. That's a short. So I can add that in here if you want to watch it. I can't really show it directly because of the because I think the music is copyrighted. But I will add that while I'm thinking about it. Here you go. Okay. Um, and if you're wondering where to find this, tell me why none of this is on here. Oh my goodness. I don't know what is happening with Kofi. Why is my Kofi not on here? Okay, let me fix this. Hold up. Okay. In real life, you would ignore it, but you want to play the game. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, wouldn't we all? That's part of the fun. All right, let me add my Kofi in here. Um, this is for you can find information here for the New York City trips and for the Choose Your Story thing if you're interested. If I can find anything. But yeah, anyway, I feel like the people who've been doing it have been having fun. It's been exciting to see people, like get the clues. And I've got one person who was the first to guess what the clue that she got meant, which was really fun. Okay, so there you go. Those are now saved in the video description. So yeah, if you're interested, go check it out. That's a creative thing that I'm doing this year. And yes, the choose your own was not in the description. The UK trip is still there. Why is the UK? What? I thought I took it out. I don't see the UK trip. Oh, you know what? It's because it doubled some stuff. Dang it. Okay. Thank you. don't know why it does this sometimes. Sometimes it like doubles things and I don't know why that happens. Why is this also that's so weird. Okay. Okay. Let me sometimes YouTube is doing weird stuff. Okay, I think I fixed it. I'll update that. Thank you, Brown One. Hey Jessica, welcome. Yes, I did mention this earlier, but it does get included in the AdSense revenue. They break out what we get. We get like a small percentage of whatever, like a percentage of what people pay into YouTube Premium does go to creators. So yes. Okay, so that is all of that. If does anybody have any questions about anything, I'm happy to answer while I'm on here. I don't have to go anywhere immediately. And I think I updated. Okay, the thing. Let me just type this in here. Okay, I think that updates the Ko-fi thing. There we go. Oh, goodness. Yeah, overall, I feel like it was a pretty good year of reading. I read a lot of great stuff, and it's been such a great month. I just finished my fourth six-star read of the month. My fourth. Like, that's wild. I can't believe how good my reading this month has been. I've been just, oh, so many good books. It's very exciting. It's a good way to start the year. And yes, I know. I know. Fourth. I never have four in a month, almost ever. It's amazing. Yes. I'm I'm very, very happy. It's been really good. Yes, wrap up should be fun. What was the fourth one? The fourth one I just finished. I haven't written a review for it yet, but The Changeling by Victor Lavelle. Oh my god. It's intense. I had to take breaks, but it's so good. Yes, the challenge is paid content from Ko-fi Patreon. Yes. That's why I thought I would do a walkthrough of number 1. Yeah. And it's helping too because I do have expenses. Some of the locations I'm filming for later videos, I have to pay to go to. So some of it is income, some of it is expenses for being able to film. Yeah. So what book? Yeah. So the book is The Changeling. I liked Lone Women too, and The Changeling. Oh, it has content warnings. I'll put in my review because it is like has some intense stuff, but it's really good. I love his writing. It's so good. A bookshelf tour. Maybe I could. I feel like my bookshelves are so messy because I have so many books and not enough space. I have a lot of things that are double stacked. But yeah, I mean, I could do. I've done one in the past, but it's been a while. So if people are interested, maybe I'll do one. Um, I have there's like so many books in this house. Of course, shocker. And I don't keep a lot of like there's a lot of things that I read that I don't keep that kind of get passed along, but yep. Um yeah. No, I could do that. I haven't made this video yet, but I finally went and made a spreadsheet tracking all of the series I'm in the middle of, which is a lot. And so I'm thinking it might be fun to do like a video project where I try to complete some series. So that's probably going to be coming. Kind of like messy shelves based on vibes. This is fair. There are people with like pristine shelves, or I can't do, I know everybody is different, but like the rainbow shelves, they look pretty, but I could not. It would, no, my brain, I couldn't find anything. Yeah. Yes, a series. Yeah. Yeah, well, I thought it would be fun to do a video because I have like a whole bunch of books where I only need to read one more book to complete the series. And so I may do something like a vlog where I try to complete a bunch of things. Um, but yeah, also just an overview of how many series I'm in the middle of, how many things I need to be caught up on, because I'm currently actively reading a lot of series right now. So yeah, but I think that'll be fun. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming. I think this month I've been putting a lot of energy into planning the trip and doing the choose your story challenge thing, which has been just a really fun kind of different thing for my brain. But I do have other stuff that I'm planning to do. Um, as time goes on. And I guess as a reminder for anybody in New York, tomorrow night is the event that I'm hosting in Brooklyn at Plus Brooklyn. So if anybody signed up, I will be there. It's like a book swap and shop with snacks. It'll be fun. Only have contemporary and romance and rainbow. Okay. I feel like I'm like, hey, okay, I just actually reorganized some of my some of my shelves. So, okay, I have it mostly organized by age and genre, except for I have a couple of imprints that have their own shelves. So Orbit and Tor are mostly on one shelf. And then other than that, I have things organized by age and genre. So like middle grade books are in my kids' room. I have a section that's now all YA. I just separated out my YA because my kids are getting older and I'm like, I should probably separate them from my adult books now. So I did that, but it was fun. All right. Well, if nobody has any other questions, we'll wrap this up. But I feel like it's been a good year, and I'm pretty excited about 2024 to see where it's going to go and what new things might happen. So yeah, stay tuned. And again, huge thank you to all of the people because there were a lot of people who joined Patreon this year, and it did make a huge difference in making this more feasible. So now I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I can make this work without having a whole other job, like full time job, but trying to find other ways to have streams of income as well. So, all right, have a wonderful evening or rest of your day, depending where you live. Yeah, of course. It was fun. And I will be back. I think my next video to go up will probably be all about my DNFs. So enjoy that. And stay warm. Bye.